everyone, welcome to another video. I realize some of these terms might be very obvious and simple for us already in the know, but for a lot of people maybe they don't know these words, and since I'm doing a video of this in Cantonese anyway, I decided to do the English version as well, because in terms of the Cantonese side of things, there really isn't too many resources. I mean, these most simple things, sure, whatever, but hey, it's just another sort of 10 list thing. Get the basics out there before I move on to more specific terms. Step by step, don't run before you walk. Hey, so also kind of feels like a rite of passage just to do a video like this. Just, hey, I'm doing these now. So anyway, and finally, just before we get onto the list, I just want to say that I care more about the intentions of a word used than the word itself. Words are meaningless unless we put meanings behind it. If someone doesn't understand the word, or they don't realize they're using a word in a bad way, it's okay. It's okay to explain to them. There's no reason to get mad, get upset, or get offended. So I think it's really important to, educate people about certain words. And hopefully people won't be using those words to step down on people, insult people, or be aggressive, have aggressive intentions behind it. Enough rambling. Without further ado, let's take a look at these 10 phrases or 10 terms related to the LGBT community. And of course, the first term would be LGBT, or sometimes LGBTQIA+. LGBT is just an acronym or a term that we always use for people who are who are gay or bi or trans. So when you ever see the LGBT like a flag or symbol, then it's going to be some of the words that we're going to see here. For the most part, people will just use LGBT because it's just 4 letters, it's fast, it's quick, it's understandable. And for me personally, I think LGBT is enough, but of course there's also QIA+, which that's for people who feel like LGBT doesn't encompass who they are within those letters. So what exactly are those words? Well, number 2. L stands for lesbian, which, lesbian means a woman who is attracted to another woman. And in this day and age, if someone was a trans woman, who was also attracted to another woman, they will also be considered a lesbian. It's not just people who are born female who likes other born females, but it is whoever is living their lives as a female who likes other females. For me personally, I'm a trans woman and I like other trans women, or other women as well, but so I would consider myself a trans woman lesbian. And what I also say is there is another term for people like us to shorten trans woman lesbian, and that's just called transbian. Makes me sound like a transformer. Number 3, the G stands for gay, and most of us should know that's what gay means: a man who's attracted to another man. Again, just like lesbian, this could also refer to a trans man who's attracted to other men as well. This isn't just someone who's born a guy who likes other guys, but this is also people who have transitioned or living their life as a guy who likes other guys too. Number 4, bisexual. Bisexual means you like men and women. You could like both. Now, for someone who likes both men and women, it doesn't necessarily they like trans, it doesn't necessarily mean they're like someone who's in the middle of boy, woman. It's not like that. It just means they're like someone who's lives like a boy, and someone who looks and lives like a woman. Can a bisexual person like people in the middle as well? I guess they could, but then there's another term for that, and let's not get into that. When you get to very small specific places, that'll be for another video, because there are way more words to get into very specific people. But for the most part, for people who are like men, women, and maybe something in between, they are for the most part comfortable, I think, to be just referred to as bisexual. It makes life easier when you start getting to these very specific terms and things that are complicated. You gotta explain it, but yes, obviously there are other words for that, and some people will want to use those words. For most people, it's okay. Number 5, which is the T letter. T stands for transgender. It used to also mean transsexual, but in modern times, especially in Western side of things, some people might see transsexual as not as such of a good term because there's the word sexual in it and it's sexualized and might sound a bit demeaning or grainy because it's something about sex. I don't know. I personally don't really care. Transgender, transsexual, I'm okay with it. For me, the word transgender is someone who identifies as the opposite sex that they were born with. This doesn't necessarily mean they're taking any medicine to transition or they're taking any surgeries to transition. It just means that they are living their lives as the opposite gender. Whereas when I hear the word transsexual, that always makes me feel like that they've done surgery, they've done medical transition, like they've taken hormones and stuff to become more like the opposite gender. They've actually had surgery to change their gender. Even though these two words actually mean the same thing, but when I hear them, there's slightly different. One's just in the mind, like in the ideology, in the heart, in the soul, and one of them there's actually some sort of physical changes. But like I said, most people, the two words mean the same thing, and try not to use the word transsexual because some people don't like it anymore. Now, when you get to LGBTQIA+, these are the extra letters. So next one is Q, which stands for queer. Now, in the past, people have used the word queer to mock gay or lesbians, and it's just not so nice of a word. But for me, the word queer just means something a bit different. Some people have taken this word to mean questioning. Some people have taken the word queer and reclaimed it and just to use it as an encompassing term for anyone who doesn't fit in with someone who's just straight, a man who likes a woman and a woman who likes men. So it's just an all-encompassing word because we'll be here all day if we need a single letter for every single word that stands for every single sexuality, every gender and such. So Q is just a way just to say, hey, here's everything else. Next we have the letter I, which stands for intersex, and this means someone who's not quite male, not quite female, or he is both male and female because he has the body parts of both, or he has the characteristics of both. These are people who were born like this and they just so happen to have it in the middle. And a lot of people actually don't realize they are intersex because when they were born, the doctor or family member decided to surgically remove certain parts so they become just one single gender. Or some people don't even notice because the extra organ is inside them and they don't know until they have an x-ray or a scan when they're older in the hospital and they go, oh, I didn't know I had this part as well. So yeah, it's probably frustrating for a lot of people like that. There's another word that people used to call intersex people, and that's hermaphrodite. But once again, that's a word that people no longer use anymore because it's often being used in a degrading way, or it's also been used in like pornographic and sexual content. So it's just not really a comfortable word to use to describe these people. Asexual means someone who doesn't really have any sexual desires, like it doesn't see another person that they like and they don't get horny, as it were. Doesn't mean they don't love other people. They might have, emotional connections with other people. They will fall in love with other people. But when it comes to any physical actions, any sexual activities, they're not really interested. And finally, the plus at the end usually stands for anyone else. It's a bit different to Q or queer because plus is for people who aren't necessarily a different gender themselves, but they support the LGBT cause, so we like to call them allies. I'm just going to put this in here too, just because sometimes it could be similar. Admirer. So allies and admirers, they would fit in the plus category. An ally is someone who would stand up for LGBT people. They could just be a straight man or straight woman who's, a man attracted to a woman or a woman attracted to a man, but they will come and help and support the causes of LGBT. An admirer is someone who is maybe they consider themselves a straight man or straight woman, but they just so happen to be attracted to a trans woman, a trans girl, or a intersex person. So yeah, and admirer is for the most part a positive term because there's a negative version of admirer, which is a chaser, and that's not necessarily someone who would love someone like us. That a chaser is more like he just wants to chase down someone for any sexual encounters, whereas an admirer, someone's more likely to fall in love, have a serious relationship or friendship with someone from the LGBT community, so it's much more positive than someone who might be called a chaser. And finally, just for number 10 here, I'm going to put drag queen and drag king. A drag queen is a guy who dresses up as a woman to do a performance, and a drag king is the other way around, where a woman dresses up as a guy to do a performance. Now, this isn't like they're trans or they're cross-dress or anything like that. They just do the cross-dressing as part of a job, as an act. Like they will get up on stage, they'll be on a movie or they'll be in a play. It's part of a performance. Now, that doesn't mean they cannot be. They might be working as a drag queen or drag king because they also like to cross-dress in their personal lives. They also like to dress as the opposite gender or do things that the opposite gender does in their personal lives. But in terms of the drag king and queen part, that's just a term that's using to describe their job or their performance. So there you go, those are, well, actually more than 10 words, but 10 terms and things related to 10 terms that are related to the LGBT community. I hope that this video helped you if you didn't know what those words mean. I'm going to be doing a lot more lists of 10 terms relating to transgender later, so please subscribe and stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, please put them below. Honestly, I don't mind. And for me, as always, take care, have a nice day. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye now. Bye.